Okay, welcome back to class, everyone. Today we are going to be learning about how to make slip. Slip is a very important thing that we need for ceramics. Anytime we are making something out of clay, we want to make sure that we have slip ready to go. And the reason that slip is important is slip is like the glue, and you can't stick things together without the glue to hold them together. So I'm going to show you two different ways to make slip. So the first way is going to be really simple, just with a fork. Okay, so anytime I'm not using any clay, I'm going to keep it covered. And what I'm going to do with this clay is I'm going to kind of get it into a little bit of a flat piece because I want to make my own slip. Now, for slip to be good quality, it needs to be almost whipped, like whipped cream. And so that's the way I would think about it. So I'm going to add some water to it, and then I'm just going to take a fork and I'm going to mash it. And this is very straightforward. All we're trying to do is mix that water in with the wet clay that we're crushing. And so I have my plate here, and I'm just going to keep mashing it until the slip is creamy with no bumps in it. And this takes a little bit of time, and that's okay. The quality of your slip does matter a lot. And so if you don't have it nice and creamy, it's not going to make good connections between the pieces of clay that you're trying to attach together. So I'm going to keep blending this until it looks nice and creamy. Now, you can always add more water to it, but it's harder to take water away. So I add my water a little bit at a time so that I can make sure that I have the right amount and that it's not getting away from me, because waiting for evaporation is not fun. Okay, and I can look at this and see this is still very chunky, right? So I'm going to keep going until it's got a nice smooth texture. And so the first texture you're looking for is visually, like I can look at this and say, this still has a lot of bumps in it. So I'm going to keep doing it. You do have to wipe the clay out of the tines with a fork. Okay, so mix, mix, mix. And you can see we're getting closer, but there's still chunky bits. Okay, and you really do want it the texture of like fresh whipping cream. Okay, or, you know, straight out of the bottle from the store. So I'm going to mix, 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 mix until it's just right. Now, it looks like it's good, but next I need to do the feel test. So if I look at that, it looks like nice slip, but I'm going to take it and rub it between my fingers and see, is there any little chunks? And I can feel a couple, so I'm going to mix a little bit more. And then I'm going to test it again. And it's looking good. It feels really nice. It's got a really creamy texture. So that is nice slip. You can see that looks good. Okay, so after I made my slip, I'm going to rake it into a little pile because I'm going to keep that perfect level of hydration and creaminess. Okay, and then when I'm done with my tool, I'm going to take it and I'm going to always wipe my tool off so that my tool is clean. Okay, so always have water nearby. I always have my bowl, I have my sponge so that I can clean off my tool. Okay, now the next way to make slip is actually my favorite slip. So this is the tool we're going to use. This is called a rasp. And basically it is an industrial type of cheese grater. And so for this to work, you have to have some bone dry clay already ready to go. And basically what we're doing with this clay is we are turning it into powder. And this is messy, so I'm going to have my canvas board and I'm going to just grate it onto a plate. And this is literally exactly how you would grate cheese, hard cheese, like Parmesan. Okay, so I'm gonna get this nicely grated, and I'm just gonna get a nice little pile, and if I have any bits, I'm gonna crush them with my fingers. And you can see, it takes a minute, that's all right. Okay, if I get any big chunks, I'm gonna smash them. Now, this does not grate if you start getting it wet, so I have to keep it away from any damp water that I have around, and I have to make sure my hands are clean and dry before I'm using this bone dry clay. Okay, so there we go. Get it all nicely grated, and it's just like at Olive Garden with the Parmesan. More cheese, please. Now I'm gonna add a little water, and if I get too much, it's okay. I can just grate more into it. Now, I like this way because I get really even textured slip really quickly. And so I do still need my fork for this method because I need something to mix it with. And you can see this slip is already having a pretty nice texture, but it's too runny. See how it's kind of puddling? So I'm going to grate a little more on top. And I'm going to mix it in until I get that same perfect creamy texture of slip that I had with starting with wet clay. And it works really fast. Okay, and I'm going to do the same test where I'm going to take it, get it on my fingers, and I'm going to rub it and be like, oh yes, nice texture, nice creaminess, like it's enough to just stand on its own, but just barely. I'll keep wiping my fork off so that I have all the slip I've made so that it's ready to go. So anytime you're going to slip and score, the first thing you're going to do is get out your tools, make some really good quality, really nice and creamy slip. Making sure there's no little bits left, and it's perfect. Okay, and that's how you do it. And the best way to apply slip is just with your fingers. And so when I am ready to slip and score, I like to use my finger for that. Gonna wipe my tool off again. Always trying to control the mess and chaos of clay. And that's how we do it. So once again, this tool is named a rasp, and this is really all you need is some clay and a fork, and a rasp if you have one, and those are the two different ways. So that way it's just creaming it with a fork, and this way it's grating it and then mixing it together with water. And that's how you make slip. Okay, thanks, enjoy.